before when franchises have come up for approval of whether there might be control started by a lien holder, but I don't know if that's why it was put in there. That was what was given to me and what you asked to be drawn into your ordinance. I don't know if that was the concern that was being addressed or not. You may wish to address that to the drafter of the points that were put into this ordinance.
Anybody else? Ms. Nunley.
Excuse me, I can't find it in here, but it says in one part where they talk about the main place that all the animals are, and I can't find it. I know it's in here. And then there's another part that mentions that they need to give notice of other places of pickup and drop off. So is there only one place of pickup and drop off, or are there more?
You have a main depot which we have to return to after each ride. But we provide you with a list of such like B&Bs. If a customer wants to be picked up at the B&B, they solicit that business from our termini or depot,
Right.
and then we go to their establishment to actually pick up the customer.
Does that happen at the time of the pickup, or do you have a standard thing with that B&B? You know what I mean? If somebody wants a ride with your carriage, does the B&B call you up and say, we'd like for you to pick so-and-so up, and then you contact the police department and say, we'd like to pick somebody up at this B&B? Or
no, we've never had that. We pre-establish those points.
We pre-establish them.
That's
okay.
why we have all those listed for you. The franchises need to give you those points so that they can do business without bothering the police department on a daily basis to get permission to go to those places.
Okay, and the police department approves those pickups then?
Yes.
Okay.
That should be part of the application.
So
that's part of the application process.
Okay. So do you have pickups that aren't to B&Bs that are just general pickups on the street besides the depot?
No.
Okay.
The ordinance would allow that.
The ordinance would allow that?
As long as they were established as part of the application process.
As long as it was a safe place to pull off the road and the person could park and enter and exit the vehicle.
So, in other words, according to the ordinance, they could solicit pickups also?
No.
Because I didn't see anything here about that, and it was in the old ordinance about not soliciting.
Those parts of the ordinance are not being changed by this.
Okay.
Only the parts that are addressed here are being changed.
Oh, all right.
Much of the old ordinance remains.
Okay. All right.
Any further? Ms. Ballance?
Just a little quick housekeeping. Besides what Mr. Mayor mentioned, under Section 6, which is on page 3, of course, we want in a 7-day period. We come down a little farther, and the third from the last sentence says not more that $100. That needs to be than. Okay, and on... Did you catch that one, Ms. Clerk?
Got it.
Okay, and under Section 8, the fourth line from the bottom, the last word, not more that $1,000. That should also be than.
That's what I've got, but okay.
Yeah.
You've got an older version, I believe. Ms.
Huh.
Ballance.
That's odd. The rest of it, I just got this when I got it.
That's the one I just got in the email.
That's good. We like
Thank you, that's all.
grammar.
Greg?
Well, I guess a question for the city attorney. When we last talked about this, I'm still concerned about the item P, where we're prohibiting the carriage from operating on Highway 62 or Main Street. From what I understand from the Highway Department, we couldn't do that.
We can't prevent carriages from operating on those highways. What we can do is we're just soliciting an agreement as part of a contract between the franchise holder and the city saying that they will not do that, and they are contractually binding themselves by that if they follow this procedure, if it's approved by the council.
Understand that, but
So it's not preventing them.
but it says that no carriages shall be operated
That's a requirement that's in their application.
up on US 62.
Yes, but that particular section you're reading is a requirement that is in their application that they are agreeing to. It is not a prohibition of other carriages being on those roadways. Specific to the franchise application, and therefore the applicant is agreeing and becoming a binding contract between that individual or that corporation, however it may be held, and the city. That does not prevent others from operating thereon.
Mr. Berry, any further? Anybody else? This was just for discussion, is that correct?
No, it's a vote.
It's well, okay. Mr. Pownall?
Move that we approve ordinance 2154 on its first reading.
Second.
You have to roll call this.
Mr. Pownall,
Yes.
Mr. Berry,
Yes.
Ms. Ballance,
Yes.
Ms. Lindblad,
Yes.
Mr. DeVito,
Yes.
Mr. Raphael,
Yes.
6-0. Score.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a good evening.
Item number 4 is the discussion of limo regulation ordinance. Motion to discuss.
Move to discuss. Motion to
Is there a
discuss.
Second.
Made and seconded. Floor is open.
Everyone should have received a final draft of the ordinance. Do you have a final draft?
You want to kick it off? Ms. Donna?
Could you hang on just one second?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Are we looking at the May 11th draft?
620.
No.
I have
No.
6/20/12 draft.
May have given all mine away. Let's see.
2 pages.
Right. Can I borrow the one I handed you today? Thank you.
It doesn't have a 6/20. I have this one.
I don't. Worked up
That's the only one I have.
Thank you, Karen.
Floor is open.
I would make a motion to assign a number and read for discussion.
Place it on its first reading.
Place it on its first reading.
Second.
Made and seconded. New ones, we need to roll call this.
Just reading it. The ordinance 2155.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ordinance 2155.
Correct. An ordinance regulating operation and rates with regard to certain for-hire vehicles.
Is that not the right one?
I believe it is.
Well, I have another one that says 6/20/12.
That's what this says. But the layout is distinctly different. Let me look just a minute, please. Okay. This is the one I received, and I rearranged it in this form to match the other ordinances. But they're the same thing. They just look a little different. Alrighty, ordinance 2155, an ordinance regulating operation and rates with regard to certain for-hire vehicles. Whereas the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas has made a comprehensive study and review of the current operation of businesses providing for-hire passenger transportation within the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and whereas the City Council believes that increased regulation of the industry is necessary to avoid infringements of the rights and or privileges extended under the city's granting of a taxi franchise and with a certificate of public convenience and necessity. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas that Section 1. This ordinance shall apply to all businesses operating limousines for hire as defined herein within the corporate city limits of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, within a radius of 5 miles beyond the corporate city limits, or occasional trips of 10 miles beyond such limits. Section 2, definitions. As used in this ordinance, the following term shall be construed to mean as follows. Limousine, a luxury passenger automobile bearing a current license as required by the state of Arkansas, seating 8 or more passengers, which is available for hire to transport passengers. For hire, the offering of or providing transportation for monetary remuneration to a passenger or passengers. Section 3, minimum fares. All limousines operating within Eureka Springs, Arkansas shall charge the following non-prorated minimum fares. Limousine shall be rented at not less than $75 per hour with the 2-hour minimum. Rentals in excess of 2 hours shall be at a rate of not less than $60 an hour. Section 4, fare revisions. Limousine fares may be revised from time to time by resolution of the City Council after a public hearing. Fair shall permit a fair, just, and reasonable return to the limousine owners while providing a clear distinction between taxicab fares and limousine rates. No resolution establishing limousine fare shall become effective until expiration of 30 days from the date of its passage and approval, during which time any limousine owner may seek judicial review thereof. Section 5, limousine shall be operated in a manner which provides exclusive luxury service to the patrons. Section 6, business licenses and fees. Each individual corporation or other entity operating 1 or more limousines within the corporate city limits shall obtain a city business license before beginning operation or continuing operation after the effective date of this ordinance. The City Clerk of Eureka Springs, Arkansas shall issue a city business license entitled Limousine Business License on completion by the requester of an appropriate application and payment of a fee of $50. Section 7, penalties. It is hereby declared a misdemeanor for any person, corporation, or other entity to operate a for-hire passenger vehicle business within the corporate city limits of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that does not comply with this ordinance and or other applicable city law. This ordinance shall not apply to city transit services, group tour franchises, animal-drawn vehicle franchises, and taxicab franchises operating with certificate of public convenience and necessity. Each day of operation shall constitute a separate offense punishable by a fine of not less than $100 and not more than $500 and applicable court costs. Section 8, repeal clause. All ordinances, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
Mr. DeVito.
Move to approve ordinance number 2155 on its first reading.
Second.
Roll call.
No, discussion.
Yes.
Well, I don't know why we need 2 hours in there, minimum. I mean, if somebody wants to rent a limo for an hour, I don't see a problem with that. I don't know why we should force it into 2 hours.
Anybody else?
Question under section 4, where it talks about no resolution, after we say a resolution will be used to revise the fares. Normally resolutions are effective immediately upon reading and approval. I don't understand why they're having to wait 30 days once the council sets the rates.
Ms. Ballance.
as far as that goes, this is actually an ordinance, which takes, of course, 3 readings to pass. And if something is set up in an ordinance, then it cannot be amended by a resolution. It has to be amended by an ordinance. So a resolution establishing limousine fares wouldn't override an ordinance, would it? In other words, if we have this ordinance and it sets forth the limousine rates, then a resolution would not override the ordinance. So what does that mean?
It would allow it to, in this instance, because the ordinance itself is authorizing the use of a resolution to change a rate.
Oh, I get it.
But this is simply from the source material that the committee provided. If you don't like it, change it to an ordinance. If you don't like 2 hours, propose a change to 1 hour. This is simply what was given from the committee.
I would move to change in section 4 resolution to ordinance. I would let me withdraw that and restate it. I would move that last sentence begin, no ordinance reestablishing limousine fares.
For what purpose?
Well, because here it says no resolution establishing limousine fares shall be done, but this is an ordinance, and in order to revise an ordinance, it needs to be done by ordinance.
I know you had your hand in there.
I was just going to say, looks like we could leave out the whole last sentence and just state that the limousine fares may be revised from time to time with approval of the City Council after a public hearing. Leave resolution out of it, and to change an ordinance, you have to change it with an ordinance, so that would automatically require the ordinance to approve the new fares, which would automatically require, unless there's an emergency clause, the 30-day waiting period. We're regurgitating things here that's already spelled out whenever you do it by ordinance.
Yes, I'd just like to point out that they put a lot of thought into the Hot Springs ordinance, and most of this is state statute and ordinances that they came up with quite a long time ago and spent a lot of time on, and I don't think it changes the intent of the ordinance to leave it the way it is.
I would move to amend ordinance number 2155, section 3, striking the word 2 hour minimum to 1 hour minimum.
Your second?
I'll second.
There's a second here.
Discussion.
Did you have your hand up, Ms. Lindbergh? About discussion? Did you have your hand up? Or you want to skip it?
No, right now. I did for something else.
Is discussion appropriate?
Yes, go ahead.
I would question the second sentence then. If we're going to change the first sentence to 1 hour, are we going to leave the 2 hours? We're going to have a gap there that after 2 hours that it'll be less than 60? Or is it going to be after 1 hour?
Ms. Lindbergh, you had your hand in front.
Yeah, I would like to bring Mr. White to the mic so he can answer questions for us, since he's got the taxi cab franchise, besides us just batting it back and forth at the table.
I think you can.
Robert's rule says you can't transfer time to another person.
But we can't even request for another person to come. That we had Susan here for the horse vehicles answering questions for us. I think that we could
I'm just
have
telling you what Robert's rule
him
says.
here.
If you want to change Robert's rules, then that's fine.
Would you please point me to that section?
I believe it says you can't transfer your time to anybody else.
I'm not transferring my time. I'm asking for someone involved in the situation to come
We'll
to the
have to
mic.
vote on you on the, let Mr.
Would you please point that out?
Okay.
Please cite that section so I may read it for myself.
If it's under debate,
I'm not transferring my time. If Susan was up there, why can't he come?
yeah, I don't have a problem with him coming up. I'm just trying to go by what the rules say here.
Well, then let's bring him up.
If you want Mr. White up at the microphone, then we'll vote on Mr. White coming to the microphone. All in favor of letting Mr. White come to the microphone, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. White? And I'll find that for you.
Thank you.
Just can't put my finger on it now.
I believe the Hot Springs ordinance used a 3-hour minimum, and there's an economy of scale here. And part of the ordinance is to operate in a manner that provides exclusive luxury service. Every time my cars went out, they were cleaned. I paid a driver an hour and a half to clean it. You cannot put that kind of cleaning in a car for $75. So that having a longer rental allows you to have a chauffeur-driven car with a guy in a suit with the car cleaned every time. You don't just dump someone out and go get someone else in it and they're empty drinks and whatever in there, and you have people riding around in that kind of car. And what it enables you to do is have the car clean because there's enough money to justify that kind of service. It's an attempt to justify better service is why those people write minimum into it. Otherwise, you just have the car jumping in with someone else, and you end up with a taxi cab kind of car again. Somebody just got in it, it's not vacuumed, the trash is left in there.
Mr. Weaver?
If that is truly the intent, council, what you've got before you doesn't do that. All it says is you're charging for 2 hours. It doesn't say that you're requiring the car to be cleaned. It doesn't say anything of the requirements he's talking about. So if that's the intent of the council, you need to let me redraft that paragraph because that's not what that paragraph does.
The other thing that is in the Hot Springs Code is they do require the chauffeur to be uniformed. I'm not saying that's what you want, but that is how you get exclusive luxury service. Again, it's economy of scale, you know. You can provide a nicer car when you have a minimum charge.
Did you say the Hot Springs ordinance had 3-hour minimum?
I believe they had a 3-hour minimum, is what I understood. It was a lesser rate, but the rate was set 12 or 15 years ago. Right, that rate was set 15 years ago, I believe.
Anybody else?
Well, it seems like what we're trying to do, well, the start was to define a limo, and it seems like this is just another way to help define a limo as different than a taxi cab.
Mr. DeVito?
Well, if we're going to be arbitrary about, then we just as well set a rate for a ride, regardless of how long it takes. I mean, I think the attorney is correct in that it's up to the limo owner. If he has 2 people that he's out for an hour and they don't make a mess in the limousine, he's got to kill 2 hours. I just don't want to regulate business any more than we have to, and I think charging $75 for an hour ride addresses the issue of the competition between limousines and cabs. And I just don't want to be into excessive regulation.
Anybody else? Any questions for Mr. White while he's here? Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Ballance, to answer your question is under debate, rules of debate, speech limits and debate. You may speak in debate twice and a debatable motion on the same day each time. You may speak for up to 10 minutes. These limits apply to any organization that does not adopt a special rule setting other limits, as many do. You cannot save time or transfer it to someone else. So you cannot, for example, speak for 5 minutes for your first time up and 15 minutes the second time. Unlike the practice in the Congress, you cannot yield the floor to let someone else speak on your time, except that you choose to let the person ask you questions on your time.
So we're pretty much not following this because we all take as many turns as we want, and that says 2 turns, 10 minutes apiece.
That's what the rules say.
So we're really not following the rules, right?
So you want to break more rules?
I wasn't the one advocating breaking rules, Mr. DeVito.
Okay. Moving on.
We have a
More
motion.
debate? Any more discussion?
Do we have a motion to amend?
There's a motion on James's.
Amendment on the floor?
Did you repeat the motion?
There was a motion to amend.
Restate.
Yes, the last one that was seconded, James did move to change section 3 to strike a 2-hour minimum, make it 1 hour, but then Mr. Pownall brought up a question that relates directly to it. So
So does your motion still stand, Mr. DeVito?
The motion was to change 2 hours to 1 hour, which would address both places where 2 hours is stated.
okay,
And there was a second?
Mr. Berry.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Let's do
Okay.
roll call.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Ballance.
No.
Mr. Pownall.
Yes.
Mr. Berry.
Yes.
Mr. Raphael.
No.
Ms. Lindblad.
No.
Mr. DeVito. 2, 3, 3 and 3.
Yes.
4-3.
Mr. Pownell?
Move to approve ordinance 2155 on its first reading as amended.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next is number 5, which is postponed discussion on water rate increase due to completion of the survey. Moves us to number 6, opposition to Water Fluoridation Resolution number 600, mailing list.
Move to discuss.
Second.
Floor is open.
Keep 2 sheets and pass this on. Oh, it's just 1 sheet, sorry.
Stop.
May we request a report from the city clerk, please?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
I was asked to provide the list, and that's what I came up with. If you would like other names added to it, I'd take your recommendations.
Yes, ma'am.
I would move to postpone this item of business until the next meeting so we can have a chance to peruse this list and think if we want to add any other names to it.
Second.
Made and seconded to postpone the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Postpone the next meeting.
I'd like to thank the city clerk for collating this list.
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Moves us to number 7, action for non-participation commissioners. Floor is open for
Move
discussion.
to discuss.
Second.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Well, I've wisdom with other meetings today. I went out and left my notes, but basically, I believe there's only one, according to city code, there's only one commission that allows for removal of commissioners with the recommendation of the mayor and approved by city council. The others are in that vague category of they may be removed for cause, and I don't know how you would define for cause in Eureka Springs. But I really believe that if we're going to have people participating as commissioners on viable, active commissions, as a minimum, we need to spell out participation, what will happen if that participation does not occur, so that there are people that may want to perform on that commission or any of the commissions, and also further define what for cause is, because it's very broad. But I do think we need to have some type of control on non-participating, as the agenda says, commissioners. And I'd just like some of the other members of the council to either voice their concerns or possibly support a motion to recommend a change.
Mr. DeVito?
Well, if we're only talking about one commission, I really don't see any need to go to any lengths to, regulate them. I feel that,
We have more than one commission.
no, he said that we had only
there's
one.
only one commission that specifies that they can be removed upon, I can pull, but I believe it's the,
Well, my question being, do we have authority over the CAPC? Do we have authority over parks? I don't know that we have.
Ms. Wendler?
Well, then we need to check into it, because it seems to me that if we have authority to appoint them and authority to remove them, that we should have some kind of authority over their being at the meetings and participating. Because we appoint them, I mean, we vote on them being put on the committees, and we can remove people from committees, so we can't. I thought we could.
Each commission is specific to their own set of rules.
I said that the city code only goes as far as to say, for those that do specify, and I'll use planning as an example because there was a proposed ordinance before council several years ago to change that procedure that states that they can only be removed for cause. There's one commission that states that upon, I think the mayor can recommend removal with approval of the majority of the city council. And as was stated, if this table has the authority to approve nominations to commissions, we need to have the other half of that action, that if they aren't performing or participating, and I'm not saying that we just all of a sudden come up and say, well, we don't feel like so-and-so is performing the way they should. There could be stipulations in there that, for example, that the chairman of that commission could recommend to the city council that so-and-so be removed from the commission for lack of participation and showing in meeting attendance minutes that they haven't attended for 6 months out of, whatever time period. It's just, I really see these people that put, it's like they're building their resume and then they walk away from it. If they're going to put their application in, they need to perform and they need to participate. And if they can't participate, then we need to put somebody else on there who can. And to do that, we need to be able to have something in place that allows this table to do that.
Would you read item this one? Commissioner attendance under planning?
Been asked to read what is listed under commissioner attendance for planning commissioners missing more than 3 regular scheduled meetings without a notice to the chairperson or the city clerk within a 6-month time period may be with a majority vote of the members of the commission recommended to the mayor for removal from the commission. The absence with or without notification will be noted in the minutes of the meeting. Planning commission rules and regs.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Ballance?
Question for the attorney, please. Does that mean that that member could be removed by the mayor, simply by the mayor, and not without approval of the city council?
I don't think that's what it's defining now.
Okay. Since I still have the floor, I would like to go on record as saying I would support exploring this issue and our options.
Anybody else?
Is that a motion?
Well, maybe you'd like to word the motion, or maybe you would.
I'd like to clarify, and I apologize for leaving my notes at home. In the Title 13 for planning, paragraph G states that a member of the commission may be removed by the mayor with the consent of the majority of the members elected to the council upon finding that such removal is in the best interest of the city. The other commissions saying with cause. Some of them don't state anything, and I think it needs to be granted. I proposed some of that wording some time ago on the planning commission that if we can't have a quorum and we can't have participation, then the members ought to be able to recommend through a procedure, because in most of these commission establishments it says that they will set up their rules and procedures, and we allow them to do that, and if they elect to write and vote on their procedures, that they can recommend with a majority vote to the city council or the mayor that somebody be removed, then it still leaves that control at this table for the final decision. It just needs to be the same across the board.
Anybody else? Rick?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. It sounds more like it could be a witch hunt than anything else. I'm not sure which commissions that Mr. Pownall is talking about. Some of them are autonomous, and for that very reason of trying to stay out of the political arena. We have a hard enough time sometimes getting people on these commissions, much less thinking that they're going to be reviewed and supervised by this table, and if this table doesn't like what they're doing, then they can be brought up for removal. To me, I'm not sure that we've ever, I don't know where the problem is, if we even have a problem, or if Mr. Pownall is trying to head off a potential problem. Again, it sounds like we're trying to instigate more regulations than what we probably need. I'm not convinced that this is a good solution, because it looks like it's more like a witch hunt.
Ms. Linda?
Well, I think we should delete the words witch hunt. It seems to me that what was just read from the Planning Commission is not a witch hunt. If someone is not showing up at meetings and they're not letting the chairman know why they're not going to be there, it can be expanded to more meetings. It can be for a longer period of time. But I think that it is a good tool to be able to remove people who don't want to serve on commissions but hold a chair, because we do have trouble getting people on commissions, and we need to have acting commissions. And if there's someone, say a commission has 6 members, but they've only got 4 appointed members, and 1 member isn't showing up and not letting the chairman know why, then that commission can't really do much business. So I don't think that it's a witch hunt if we standardize the rule for all of the commissions and say this then it's not a witch hunt, because it's not something that can be used against someone. It's a uniform rule that will be used for everyone, and I think it's a great idea myself. And since we do vote on appointing people, to the commission. I think that it would not be a bad thing for us to set some rules which I think would assist the commissions and assist the heads of the commissions.
Anybody else? Support was 10. No.
I make a motion that the city attorney draft the applicable changes to each commission title chapter that would mirror the procedures that the Planning Commission has in their rules and procedures for consideration by this table.
I second the motion.
Mr. Weaver.
I would ask if the council's going to do that they give me some guidance of how many meetings they want missed and what they want as an excusable excuse. If a person simply has to call the chairman or call the city clerk and say, I'm not going to be there because I feel like I got a headache coming on, is that an excuse that simply voids the 3 times? And is it 3 times? Is it 6 times you want? How many times in a time period? The workable definition that's in the Planning Commission is not very workable. And if you start applying it across the board, you're going to run into several instances where this council is going to end up in endless debate that cannot result in the removal of anyone.
I move to postpone this till our next meeting so that we can come back with more information as to what commissions we have authority over and what guidelines we want to establish for the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, the original motion and second was to send it to Mr. Weaver for his perusal and rewrite.
Doesn't it table to proceed that?
Yes. So that's one we have to address first.
The table has to be addressed first. It has to be roll call.
Good.
Okay, this will be.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
might I speak? Everybody has the ability on their own to go to the city attorney and ask questions. So, find out which commissions you have authority over. That'll make it a little easier to determine what direction you want to go. Come back to the table with more information.
Are we in discussion? Are we in discussion?
Just before the vote. We haven't voted yet. Any further discussion on it? All right. Now, go ahead with the vote.
Clarify what we're voting on.
Postpone it till more information can be gathered.
Okay.
Mr. DeVito.
Yes.
Mr. Raphael.
Yes.
Mr. Berry.
Yes.
Ms. Lindblad.
Yes.
Mr. Pownall.
Yes.
Ms. Ballance.
Yes.
6-0.
Should we,
As a courtesy to our guests, I'm going to ask council that we move the Vine Street vacation to our next order of business.
do a second?
Second. I'll second that.
All in favor?
To move,
Move
we
to Vine
have
Street
we have
issue.
3 or 4 people here on the Vine Street vacation, and I'd like to move that to the next topic of business.
In other words, we want to suspend the rules.
It's with council's
We've
approval.
already-
With council's approval.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You need it to be a roll call.
Okay, roll call. Let me get this straight.
Mr. Pownall.
Yes.
Mr. Berry.
Yes.
Mr. Raphael.
Yes.
Ms. Ballance. Mr. DeVito.
Yes.
Ms. Lindblad.
Yes.
5-0-1.
I move to take a 10-minute break.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? 10 minutes. All right. Back here, 10 till 8. We'll be back in session. Council approved the moving of Vine Street issue to number 8 on the unfinished business. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second. Made and seconded. All right, you want to start with the guests that we have here?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Matt Bishop. I'm an attorney here in town. I represent Cornerstone Bank. About a month ago, Cornerstone filed a petition to vacate the Cafe Santa Fe building. A portion of it is on the Vine Street, what is within the limits of Vine Street. They filed a petition to vacate that little portion, went before Parks. Parks approved it, and then I understand that they've subsequently removed that approval. Either way, theirs is a non-binding resolution, and I now have to come to you. The reason I'm here tonight is to have you give me a date for a full public hearing, because the state statute allowing for vacation requires me to publish twice. So I need a date for approximately 4 weeks out to have a hearing so I can get that published. And that's all I'm here for today. The merits of it, I mean, I'm happy to discuss them, but I have to schedule a public hearing.
Questions? Discussion? Ms. Ballance?
Before we go any further into this, I would like to share with you a conversation I had with Jim Von Tungelen, who is on retainer with the Municipal League, and he is one of the state's top planners. I gave him a short synopsis of what was happening with this property, and one of the first comments he had for me was that once you vacate or sell city property, you never get it back. That property belongs to the citizens, supposed to belong to the citizens in perpetuity. So apparently he's not, generally speaking, in favor of vacating or selling city property. And this comes directly from Jim Von Tungelen, who is one of the state's top planners. So, to begin with, once you sell or give away or vacate city property, you never get it back. It's gone. That is a loss to the city, a loss to the citizens at large. I also told Mr. Von Tungelen that there might be at least one entity not in favor of this going forward, and his comment to that was, well, then I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And I asked him, Mr. Von Tungelen, may I quote you on that? And after he thought about it for just a moment, he said, yes, you may. So if there's any opposition to this whatsoever, his advice was that he would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. So there you have it. Once we give away or sell city property, we never get it back. It's gone. We have shortchanged our citizens in the perpetuity of their city. And secondly, if there's any opposition to this, he would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Thank you for letting me share that with you.
Yes, sir.
I think we could set a date for a hearing, but I think we also need to put this back on the agenda as soon as possible for further discussion, because I think there's several sides to this whole issue.
While we're thinking about it, it's also pertinent to remember that there are other options, such as a 99-year lease. There are other options, such as voting to have those ancillary structures torn down. At some point, somebody virtually stole that property from the citizens of Eureka Springs by erecting permanent structures on property that did not belong to them. So we have at least two other options, one being a 99-year lease, another one being simply making them remove those structures from that public property. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Mr. DeVito?
I'd move to establish July 25th for a public hearing.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Time, place, what day is the July 25th?
Be in the courtroom.
Okay. No, go ahead.
In the courtroom upstairs.
At what time?
Is it part of the regular scheduled meeting?
No.
Okay.
This will be a public hearing.
Time?
6:30.
Motion is to set July 25th at 6:30, courtroom upstairs.
What day of the week is that, please?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Ms. Lindblom.
Well, we don't know if the courtroom's available. We better find that out first because it's not always available to us.
Okay. It's a tentative date and time set then. We'll find out if it's available.
Okay.
Say July.
July
July
25th.
25th is a Wednesday.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. We don't have a second? I thought we did.
I did.
There's a second right there.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Motion carried. All right, now, is there any further discussion on this issue? If not, everybody go to the house. Thank you, Janice. All right,
So you're going to put it
Now.
on the agenda? Keep it on the agenda?
next on the agenda will be
I'd
number.
like on the agenda. I'd like to have that kept on the agenda.
Okay.
Well, it will be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not going to be done. Number 8's now number 9, Climate Action Plan Resolution 601.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
Made and seconded. Floor is open.
I would like to read Resolution 601.
Second.
6:30.
Discussion.
James, were you the second?
Yes.
Thank you.
For discussion.
For discussion. Is that your point, Mr. Pownall?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, did I give all those away too? Oh. Okay. And there was a vote?
No vote. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right, the modified resolution 601.
Excuse me. Do you have an extra copy of that?
I don't think so. Resolution to adopt the Eureka Springs Climate Action Plan. Whereas Eureka Springs, Arkansas recognizes the threat climate change as a significant global challenge for the 21st century, and whereas efforts to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases, GHGs, may assist in prevention thereof, and whereas former Mayor Dana Joy signed the U.S. Conference of Mayors Climate Protection Agreement, which calls for cities to strive to meet Kyoto Protocol emission reduction targets, and whereas the city completed a GHG inventory to estimate total emissions of carbon dioxide and methane, the two most significant GHGs released within the city, and whereas the city identified critical projects, policies, and priorities in completing a climate action plan, the implementation of which can both reduce the emission of GHGs and provide savings in areas such as energy expenditures for residents, businesses, and city government, and whereas the city's welcome status as both a progressive community and a significant tourist destination is enhanced when positive actions are taken to improve the local and global environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas hereby adopts the Eureka Springs Climate Action Plan a set of defined goals which, if acted upon, will reduce the overall emission of GHGs that result from activities of the city and its citizens, businesses, and visitors.
Any discussion?
The copy that I have is the correct one, then the last sentence ought to say citizens instead of citizen, not being picky, but
Okay.
comma, businesses.
Any further?
Move to approve Resolution 601 as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Actually, you need roll call.
Roll call? I thought it was gonna be roll call.
Final vote on this approval.
Okay. Rules change.
Ms. Lindblad,
Yes.
Mr. Pownall,
Yes.
Mr. Berry,
Yes.
Ms. Ballance,
Yes.
Mr. Raphael,
Yes.
Mr. DeVito,
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. Next on the list is CAPC tax restructuring discussion. Move to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Lindblad, second. Floor is open. Ballance.
Question for our city attorney, please.
Go ahead.
Have you found any legislation that prohibits us from putting this on the ballot?
From putting what on the ballot, please?
From putting an item regarding restructuring the CAPC tax on the ballot for a vote of the people?
I don't think you're allowed to put that in the way you're stating it, if I understand. So I would ask you to clarify your question.
Okay. In the way of some background, I'm interested in the potential ability of putting to a vote of the people a restructuring of the CAPC tax. For instance, I believe is it 3% across the board right now? Okay. So if it's 3% across the board for lodging and restaurants right now, yes? I'm wondering as to the viability of being able to place an item on the next general election ballot that would restructure that tax so that 2% of the tax goes toward promoting and advertising, and 1% of the tax, for instance, I'm just saying for instance, goes toward auditorium upkeep and maintenance.
I think that clearly the enabling ordinance or statute that allows the creation of the CAPC does that. It prevents you from doing that. It dictates where that money goes to. So that, yes, that's your answer. That, yes, the state law that sets it up, which we adopted under, would prevent that because it dictates where the money goes. It goes to the committee.
So the people totally have no say over what happens with that 3% tax.
They had their say when the vote was approved. If you want to propose to them to reduce it to 2%, I suppose you can do that. But as far as giving one of those cents to someone else, you cannot do that by the enabling ordinance or the enabling statutes.
Well, then I would move to place on the next ballot for the next general election to allow the people to vote on reducing the CAPC tax from 3% to 2%.
Second.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Mr. DeVito.
That has to be an initiative petition from the people. We don't have the authority as city council to reapportion the CAPC taxes. I mean, it's...
I'm not asking. Go ahead.
Excuse
Sorry.
me.
Sorry.